Hi everybody, you're listening to Comics and History, episode number 129, part 3, Armageddon 2001. And welcome to the show. I am your host, Brian J. Rygate, and class is back in session as we hopefully wrap up our look at the 1991 DC Comics event, Armageddon 2001. I'm going to start off by giving a synopsis, spoiler-filled synopsis, of Armageddon 2001, issue number 2. This was the concluding chapter. Just a quick recall from part 2 of this episode. The original ending for Armageddon 2001 called for Captain Adam to be revealed as a hero who took the tragic fall and became the monarch. But after that info was leaked on a 900 number, it was decided that a last-minute change was in order to the story, and it would be really interesting to know and to see if there was an original script for 2001 issue number 2 out there. It'd be just so fascinating to read how the original script played out. But the synopsis I will be providing you with is for the proverbial theatrical cut, the issue which actually hit newsstands and comic stores in summer of 1991. So the issue opens at the Justice League Europe embassy, where Wave Rider is making physical contact with Captain Adam and scanning him, probing into his future timeline. And we see that it's a very bleak future ahead for Captain Adam. The 2001 that Wave Rider sees looks like a future that's well on its way to becoming the future in which the monarch rises to power and takes complete control over all of society. And we see in this future timeline that Nathaniel Adam has really been ravaged by the effects of time. He's bearded, very short hair. He looks somewhat emaciated, and he has a bum leg. He's walking with a cane. And the explanation is that sometime in the past, Captain Adam learned that his power set was actually disrupting the whole quantum field, and it was leading to the breakdown of space and time and possibly all of reality. And so he decided to call his career to an end. Captain Adam was no more, replaced by Nathaniel Adam. And then sometime after retiring the Captain Adam persona, Nathaniel Adam was in an accident and his leg was crushed. And he could have restored his physical health just by turning back into Captain Adam, but he didn't want to do any further damage to the fabric of reality, so he decided to live with this condition. 10 years into the future, though, we see that Nathaniel Adam is mourning the very recent loss of his children and his grandchildren. They were all killed in a gang-related shootout. Nathaniel goes to the police precinct with his caregiver / companion. And the officer who he speaks with, I wouldn't say is a corrupt individual, but he's certainly somebody who's lacking in emotion, lacking in tact, as just a pretty good representation of what society has become in this bleak future. And the officer says to Nathaniel, well, you know that some time ago, gangs were legalized and they were allowed to carry their guns and they were able to settle their scores on the streets. So, we can't arrest them for what happened to your family. Your family was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And hey, if you want to claim their bodies, just go to the local landfill. And that's the really horrific part about this dystopian future, which we're seeing here, as Nathaniel and his caregiver slash companion go to an actual garbage site where the bodies of Nathaniel's children and grandchildren are literally festering amongst the other refuse in the pile. Pretty sad potential future that we're looking at here. And it's one which drives Nathaniel Adam over the edge. And he slowly transforms back into Captain Adam. And at this point, Wave Rider is thinking, this is it. This is where Nathaniel becomes the monarch. But instead, Nathaniel slash Captain Adam backs down with the help, the support of his companion who talks him down, and he reverts to Nathaniel Adam, but he is clearly now a broken man, both physically and psychologically. And so at this point, back in the present day, Captain Adam and Wave Rider break the link, and Captain Adam is just riddled both with grief and guilt. He says, "Oh my God, I saw it all, my family, and what I did. I was so angry. I was going to kill everyone. I was going to destroy everything. Oh my goodness." And for his part, Wave Rider is mortified because when it came to all the other scans which he performed on the heroes, none of them consciously remembered what they saw in their futures. At most, Superman gleaned a couple of things from Wave Rider's multiple scans of the Man of Steel, but those were all on a subconscious level. But it's very different here with Captain Adam, where he actually felt himself, living out this future. And so it really takes the captain down a couple of pegs, and it's clear that it's going to take him some time to recover from this. Well, we see that the future Nathaniel slash Captain Adam's rage and release of power has actually opened a rift in the space-time continuum, and the monarch, who has evidently been keeping an eye on Matthew Rider slash Wave Rider this whole time, sees his opportunity to step back in time to our present day. The time barrier has been broken, and so he's able to walk back to the present day, the then present day of 1991. And he says, yes, this will do. And Monarch sets about capturing Hawk and Dove. He first kidnaps Dove. She tries defending herself, but he quickly neutralizes her, takes her away to a secluded area. He then goes after Hank Hall, who transforms into Hawk and tries to take down Monarch, but Monarch neutralizes him as well and takes him to the site where he's taken Dove. He subjects both of them to a neural toxin which renders them temporarily paralyzed. He basically forces them to listen to a rant. And his rant really consists of a psychological beatdown on Hank Hall. He talks about how Hank Hall is an agent of the Lords of Chaos, and as such he has this incalculable rage which he must always carry within him at such a great burden, and he struggles with it. He struggled with it his whole life, and the only thing that can keep him in check is a partner, i.e. Dove, And without that partner, Hawk would be nothing. He would be a broken man. He'd be a completely lost man, a man full of rage, unable to control himself. Um, Interestingly, the monarch also emasculates Hank Hall. He talks about how, for all of his bravado, Hank Hall is actually quite awkward around women. And when it comes to sharing his feelings with the woman he loves most, he's unable to. It's a psychological beatdown that's akin to the emotional wearing down that Sinestro inflicted upon Kyle Rayner in the Sinestro Core War, where Sinestro was breaking down Kyle's will before serving him up to Parallax. And as the monarch wraps up his rant slash psychological beatdown, Hawk and Dove both find they have a measure of mobility back, and so they try to fight back against the monarch, but it's not enough. And Monarch takes Dove and he says to Hank, "Look at this, Hank Hall. I am going to kill your partner." And that's what he does. He pretty well incinerates Dove. Thanks to her power set, she isn't charred, but her body is badly damaged. She reverts to Dawn Granger, and she passes away. Hawk, for his part, is shattered by this, and he starts to cry, and he cradles Dove's body for a minute, and then he flies into a rage, and he lays down an epic, massive physical beating on the monarch. Just smashes the monarch's helmet off and starts beating the monarch about his head, to the point where the monarch is left lying on the ground, bleeding, moments away from death. And the camera zooms in, and we finally see the face of the monarch revealed, and the monarch is an older Hank Hall. And seeing this, the present day Hank is surprisingly not driven into a rage. It certainly takes him back a few steps, especially as the dying monarch says, "Yes, this is how I remember it. I killed me." And then he dies. And so Hawk, who reverts to Hank, looks at Dawn and says to her, "Well, Dawn, he was right. We've been doing this wrong all along. We've been fighting this fight for so long, and people still die. Evil still gets away with it. Somebody should have been there to stamp out all evil. Somebody should have been there to take the steps necessary to stop evil at all costs. And since nobody else is up for that task, it might as well be me." And so Hank strips off his civilian garb and he dons the monarch armor. The new monarch of 1991 sets about invading labs around the world, including Star Labs, taking various components which he will use to put together a doomsday device which, when detonated, will kill all of the metahumans on Earth, save for himself, and this will allow him to take complete control over the Earth. By this point, the rest of the heroes in the DCU have gathered together, and they start a hunt for the monarch, who eventually calls them out and presents them with his doomsday device. He also reveals his identity, and everyone is shocked to learn that the monarch is Hank Hall. Monarch is not able to detonate the device. He makes a rather snidely Whiplash type escape for parts unknown. And we see Captain Atom, who, despite Wave Rider's efforts to tell him that it's not his fault, feels that this is all his